Zach got you back with another Hydra video. This is Helicath taking on the Hydra. 25 million damage. We get into the 160 turns, something like that. He is an absolute beast at keeping this team alive, and he does some really good damage along the way as well. So he is, I think, perfect for literally all content in the game. He was a great fusion. I hope you got him. If you didn't, I'm sorry. But I'm going to go over his skills, masteries, and any other, pertinent information after this match. I'll also show you the damage that everybody did. And, I'll kind of show you along the way just some key points in the match. I don't want this to be a super long video, and at 160 some turns, it is a super long video if I, played the whole thing, especially manualing it. This wasn't the fastest run by any means. I've got him in here with no major damage dealer. I gave him Ruel Huntsman, or Ruel the Huntmaster, Ruel the Hamster, I call him. And he's actually a decent damage dealer, don't get me wrong. I was testing him out. I didn't build him as good as I could have. And unfortunately, he actually dies kind of early in this run, but we still get to 25 million. So I'll show you how I did that with a very imperfect run, but with Helicath put in here. I would like to build Helicath faster, and I don't know if I would put as much emphasis on full crit rate as I did here. So, but we'll see. He worked out really well. I'm not going to go through the entire fight, but I'll kind of point out some key things and, why this worked out so well. I'll show you some important points in the run, and I'll show you, of course, the end result. And then at the end, I'll show you all, the skills, masteries, everything that I had going on with him. So first and foremost, he keeps sustain up literally the entire time. I had him built a little slow. Like I said, I really should build him faster than the heads to make sure that he always has that up. The only one he won't keep it up on when you're using Inquisitors Shemail is the leader. So right now I've got Ruel Huntsman, Ruel Huntmaster in the lead. And unfortunately, of course, he gets so many turns that he ends up, wiping the sustain off. So because of that, I put Arbiter in here, and that way she could bring him back anytime he dies. He didn't die as often as I expected him to because of the, just the fact that he, Helicath keeps putting on more and more sustain. But, and of course, Arbiter also does some healing herself whenever people are below 50% HP. So he didn't die that much. However, he did get eaten, and he got eaten a lot earlier than I would have liked him to. I think it was around 18 million. So we still did another 8 million after that without him. And we did that without any HP burn, without Geomancer, without Brogni, without any passive damage other than Tomb Lord's poisons. So it was just, attacking heads while they're down, things like that, taking care of it. And I think Helicath actually did a decent amount of damage. We'll take a look at that at the end. Now, the other thing that Helicath gets to do is when the block damage is up. So when the block damage is up and when we get attacked, he's going to get to attack pretty much every turn. Anytime the enemy attacks, that'll definitely proc his, his retribution skill. So he'll get to attack. When he does that, he's placing weaken as well. So he's not the only one on this team who places weaken. Arbiter does as well. I don't have her built with much accuracies, but she does land it still sometimes. But he's going to keep weaken up, quite a bit of the fight on a lot of the heads. And then, of course, he's also getting a lot of extra attacks because of that as well. So that's going to help him do a lot of damage. And what I did in this run, since I didn't have him in the leader position, when his turn came up and the block damage was only at 1, then that's when I would use the shield. And then when the shield would get down to, again, 1, I would use the block damage. That way, yes, we could take maybe some damage here or there, but we were spreading it out evenly enough that he pretty much always had sustain up on people. So here's an example where he's going to place the shield once Inquisitor Shemail finally lets him take a turn. All right, here comes the big shield. Bam. And it's a nice size shield. I did this with, building him with full crit rate, building him over 200 speed, building him with enough accuracy to land. I think it was 280 accuracy, which is enough for, using him on brutal, which I'm also going to be testing him out on. So, there's a lot of potential here to take one of those away and even create larger shields. I'm not sure they need larger shields, at least on hard. So I was using Ruel the Huntmaster because he can place that hex out there. So I was able to attack the Head of Mischief, and then also while that was out there, he does extra damage, and boy does he do a lot of damage. It's on AoE and he hits really hard. I've got him built pretty weak because I'm building him fast, I'm building him with the crit rate, I'm building him with enough accuracy, and it's really hard to build them strong that way. I could definitely build him stronger if I took my best gear off of other champions, but I'm leaving it at this for now, so I don't have to take my arena teams apart and things like that. But I will do more testing with him in the future. Really, mainly the head, we want to avoid anyone getting swallowed in when there's not Hex out there in this formation, is the Head of Mischief. Because when that happens, of course, the Head of Mischief, you can't attack it. It, directs you to other heads. Once in a while you land your attack, but a lot of times you don't. And if it's Ruel the Huntmaster that gets swallowed like he did here, then there's nobody strong and nobody with that AoE to hit the Head of Mischief. So it can be really, really difficult to get him back out in those scenarios. But here we're all right. The Head of Wrath is not a very strong head, so this wasn't too tough. And this was great. We got the Head of Torment back. We want him here the entire time if we can. That keeps Inquisitor Shamel rolling, and of course that keeps our leader getting to take extra turns. I did find when I was testing a little bit early on that when I used Helicath in the leader position and the Head of Torment went down, then all of a sudden everything changed. All the dynamics changed at that point. So that's what I was trying to do on Brutal. I'm definitely going to go back to that, but I did realize I'm going to have to build Helicath a lot faster to try to take on Brutal, either in that leader role or not. I'm not sure he needs to be in the leader role, just because he's got pretty much a 4-turn cooldown on 4 live moves. As long as you can kind of time things properly, it works out pretty well. All right, here's where we're at 17 million, and Ruel the Huntmaster gets swallowed by, of course, the Head of of course, the Head of Mischief. This is not a good thing. This is not what we want. And unfortunately, I've got nobody to really attack that head. My best chance is actually Helicath. He does an AoE move. He also does the automatic counterattacks, and it becomes an issue here because nobody can attack this head, and I'm really getting unlucky and not landing pretty much anything. So I'll show you as the moves go on, but I don't want to waste too much of your time here. And sure enough, even though we landed that one, he gets swallowed and he's gone. Now we're only at about 18 million points here. That's, I was thinking this was going to be a lost run, but I decided to continue it. Figured I'd go retool some champs and do some of that. Maybe I'd get over the 20 million threshold for hard, but I wanted to do better than that. I was really kind of shooting for, around 30 million. So I was a little disappointed that this had happened. However, it was kind of amazing. Helicath just kept everybody alive. Now, what I really wish is that I didn't have Tomb Lord in the second position. I'm not 100% sure that this was a bad thing or not, because he does provide a lot of great debuffs, including poison, which is where, probably a lot of the damage was going on. But he is now the leader, in essence, because now that Ruel the Hamster is gone, now Tomb Lord is the one getting all the extra turns. You can see the boost turn meter here. So there's not a lot more to show you here. I'll kind of fast forward to the end. Even though some of the champions get kind of low, that shield keeps coming in and sustaining people. I was pretty amazed. I almost never used any revives from Arbiter. I'm not 100% sure I ever did. But she is there to revive people for that reason. And also as a backup for when Helicath gets swallowed. I don't think that happened this run, at least not until the end. But, you know, if Helicath gets swallowed, now you don't have that sustain. So, of course, having a reviver there is good. She was also helping boost the turn meter to give Helicath those extra turns so that he could keep up, since he's not built as fast as I probably should have built him. All right, so at 21 million here is where Helicath gets swallowed. I don't really remember whether or not he gets, if we get him back out or not, but it becomes a problem. We've got some pretty strong heads out there. The head of, I don't even remember what his head is. The head on the left there, he hits pretty hard. He also puts that reflect damage out there. He puts ally protect out there. So it can be really, you know, difficult to deal with. And then, of course, the other big issue is the poison head there. He actually like puts that poison cloud out. And if you don't have anything to deal with that, it's an issue. Umbral was dead for a while. And, you know, because of that, I think, you know, we weren't able to block the buffs the way that we wanted to, at least at some point in this match. All right, so we actually do get him back out. The good part about the poison head when you have Inquisitor Shamail is when he attacks us, Shamail's going to take a bunch of turns and keep hitting him over and over again. So he ends up spitting Helicath back out. That's why we're able to kind of continue on and score even more points here. Now, one of the things I'll point out as the head of Decay swallows one of our champions, and unfortunately it is Arbiter, and that's not a good thing. So but we're at 24,600,000 and we are at turn 168. So, you know, he's kept us alive a really long time. At this point, they really start swallowing champions quickly. We're down to, I believe, a 9 count after Arbiter got swallowed. So by the time we get her out, we've only got like 7 turns till the next one goes. And turns go pretty quick on Hydra. All right, so right here, finally Arbiter dies. I wasn't able to figure this out, and I think I made a mistake here. I attacked the Head of Wrath when I shouldn't have, and that set him off. Had I been able to get some sustain out there, I'm not sure I could have, but had I avoided the Head of Wrath there, then I might have been able to save everyone with Helicath. And once Arbiter was gone, it went downhill fast. So we managed to score about 1 million more points, and that's it. So it was the beginning of the end with these 3. So I will just fast forward to the end so you aren't sitting here just waiting and watching. And I'll show you how we ended up here. All right, I'll get myself out of the way here. Ruel only did 4 million damage. I'm actually surprised at how little he did. He is a good damage dealer, but I've got him built very weak, and I'll show you guys that in a little bit. I was a little surprised Umbral did over 3 million. That's pretty impressive for somebody that's not built for damage at all. I wonder what I could do with her if I built her better. Arbiter, of course, didn't do much. Helicath came in with 5,897,000. I mean, that's really, really, you know, legit damage. Tomb Lord also didn't do as much as I expected. His poisons, I know poisons are really reduced in Hydra on what they can do. So Tomb Lord, yeah, only 3.5, and Shamail did the best with 8 million. And, you know, again, he's, you know, he always does well. He's a beast in here. But the main thing was, without any, as you can tell, real damage dealer pulling tons of weight here, Helicath was able to keep the team alive long enough to well overdo the hard damage limit to get the top chest. So 1 key here, very smooth, very simple, and very easy. We can definitely do better. We're gonna, you know, build him stronger. We'll try to take on Brutal next. We just unlocked it last week. So we're really, I haven't tuned all my champions to the right, like, speeds and accuracies and stuff yet. But we'll definitely be trying to take on Brutal next, and I think he's going to be the champion to do it. So I'll go through real quick these champions just to show you a glimpse of what I was using. I wouldn't necessarily copy these because this wasn't really like a built comp or anything like that. It was mainly just showcasing Helicath and how, you know, how strong he could be. So So Arbiter's Masteries are for Arena. She did almost no damage because I've got her set up to do no damage. And then here were her stats. Again, she's built to be in my second Arena team. And you can pause the video if you need to, but I don't want to bore you guys to death. Here were Ruel the Huntmaster's stats, very weak. He only had 3,000 attack, pretty low on speed. But you know, he was in that leader spot, so that was okay. But the truth is he got swallowed pretty early anyway, so it didn't matter that much. But I've got him in Savage and Immortal. And here are his masteries, mainly just damage masteries. And a little on the support side because of his Hex. Tomb Lord, you can watch my how to solo most of the content in Raid. I showcase him as well as others. And here are his masteries. He's set up for that. He's not set up specifically for Hydra, but they work pretty well in Hydra, so I just go ahead and keep them. And then his stats are this. Again, it's all set up to solo the dragon and solo Ice Golem. All right, Umbral Enchantress, here are hers. The main thing for her is enough speed and accuracy. And here are her masteries. She was set up for those really early Inquisitors Shamail runs where you were getting like a million turns with everybody. So that's the way I had her set up. And then Inquisitors Shamail here, again, set up the same way. So Inquisitor Shamail, of course, he's a complete beast. He did most of the damage. And, you know, he's set up in these skills. If you're running him in Hydra, you pretty much want to be running these. And then his artifacts, poison set. This is really important because, you know, he's just placing a ton of poisons when he counterattacks over and over and over again. That would be another thing you could do with Helicath, but you'd be giving up a bunch of shield to do it, so I wouldn't. And then here are Inquisitor's stats. Nothing too special here. He is fast enough to keep up, but other than that, no big deal. And then who we all came to see, the Hellcat himself, Helicath. He is in defense and resilience. I was basically just trying to get as much defense as possible. I actually forgot to level up this glove before I put him in, and really I should do the helmet and the weapon as well. So he could have done even more damage than he did with extra crit damage. But even so, it's a really weak glove. I'd rather just get a better one, but I don't know how long it would take to get a 6-star defense glove with speed and crit rate and everything on it. And then I do have him at 100% crit rate. His crit damage is abysmal, but that's okay. I needed to get him enough accuracy. I've got a ton of defense on him, although to be honest, it's not like a ton. I think I've got more on my Valkyrie, but I got him, you know, over 241 speed, and those were the key things. I just wanted to make sure I had the crit rate. So even if the crit damage wasn't insane, it was still critting every time that it hit. I wanted to have enough accuracy that he could keep landing that weaken. That way I didn't have to bring weaken into my team. And then I had speed and I had defense. I pretty much ignored the rest of them and just went with that. Now for Helicath's masteries, I simply went down what I call the A1 train. So that's where you're trying to maximize what a champion can do with their basic attacks. So we got our crit rate, crit damage. We go down to doing more damage when the enemy has low HP. More damage against bosses, basically. Then more damage when you use your A1. And of course, War Master. So every time he throws that counterattack out there and anytime he attacks with his AoE, he's got chances of proccing War Master. So that's an extra, 4% of damage on top of the damage you're already doing. And then here he gets extra damage when he's low on HP. I'm not sure if that's better than the one where he's high on HP, but I figured if he's even a sliver below full health, he's going to be missing out. Then on the support side, of course, I did accuracy, but then I did anything shield. So I wanted 5% extra shield here. Then it is 10% extra shield when the HP's low on the champion he puts it on. So it helps when you need it the most. Also helping when you need it the most when fear or true fear are on your allied champion, then you're going to get an extra 15% of shield. And of course it works with other debuffs, but none of them are being placed by these heads. So, and of course it works with other debuffs, but of course the other ones aren't being placed by these heads. So fear and true fear are the only ones that matter in Hydra. Then lasting gifts. I want to extend the life of the shield as much as possible. So that way, if they haven't, done enough damage to wipe it off after 2 turns, there's a chance that it'll still be on for a 3rd turn. Rapid response. He puts a bunch of buffs out there, and anytime they do that, it's great to have this one. You're going to increase that turn meter by 10% whenever a buff expires or is removed by the other heads. So this is kind of a Head of Mischief counter. Whenever the Head of Mischief steals one of the buffs off of your champions, it's going to speed up his turn meter. Also, anytime one of these buffs just expires on its own or gets wiped out from damage, it's also going to be increasing his turn meter, or at least at a 30% chance. So this is a really powerful move for him to help him move faster. Lore of Steel, just to give him extra defense. So I use defense sets, so therefore, this helps increase the amount of defense that they're giving him. So I went with Sniper to get an extra 5% chance to place that weaken when he's counter hitting. However, you also could use Hex Master, so it can sometimes stay on longer. It's really kind of a wash to me. You can either put it on more often, or it can stay on longer whenever you do put it on, or sometimes when you put it on. So you could also use Master Hexer. I think it's kind of a wash between the two. If you do the math, one might be slightly better than the other, but I don't think you're just absolutely killing it here. If he was placing a ton of debuffs, then I think Master Hexer is usually the best one. But when you have one that only places at like a 50% chance, it can be really nice to get that up to 55%. And of course, if we weren't using lasting gifts, I would take both Sniper and Master Hexer. But to me, lasting gifts is the most important one in this row. All right, covering his skills, masterfully put together. The minute I read his kit, I was like, this guy's going to be an absolute beast. I wanted to fuse him so quickly and get to these videos because I loved it the second I read it. I'm going to start with the A2. I feel if you go A2, A3, passive, A1, that's the way his kit reads to make the most sense, I guess. So he attacks all enemies, places a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns. That's why we took all the shield buff masteries. And the value of the shield buff is proportional to his defense. So that's why we built him with as much defense as we could to put out as big as shields as we could. The cool part about this, it's on a 3-turn cooldown, but it's on for 2 turns. And then you go to his next move, which is on a 4-turn cooldown, once you book it, of course. But it's also on for 2 turns. So they add up to 4 turns. If you time it properly, you've got people covered almost the entire time with either a shield or block damage buff. It's not literally 100% of the time unless you speed boost him, which we're doing. We've got Arbiter, we've got, different masteries that do it. We're trying to help him outpace the Hydra Heads. You can also do it by putting him in the leader position. It will change some of the dynamics when you do that, but that is another way to do this, of course. So his A3 places the block damage buff for 2 turns, like I said. So whenever the block damage gets taken off for any reason, whether the Head of Mischief steals it or it expires, he's going to place increased defense on that champion instead. So you're losing that block damage, but he's like, okay, here's a consolation prize, something else to help you stay alive. I think specifically for Hydra, this is incredible. Oh, and his aura is ally defense in all battles by 30%, so that's a good aura. His passive increases this champion's defense by 5% for each ally under a block damage buff. So that's going to be 20 to 25% depending on what content you're doing at the time. In Hydra, it should be 25%, unless he counts as an ally. If he does, then that would be 30%. And then the important part of this passive, he counterattacks with his default skill whenever an ally is hit while under block damage buff. It can occur once per enemy turn. So literally anytime it's up and somebody's getting hit with it, he gets to counterattack. It's not a chance to counterattack. This is really unique in this game. I'm thrilled with the way that they put this champion together. And the coolest part about that is even if you didn't build him for damage, even if you didn't have War Master on him, you're still placing weaken at a 50% chance. We increased it to 55% in the masteries with that A1. He's attacking 2 times, and each one has a 50% chance. So at 55%, hitting twice, you're putting the weaken on almost every time. This is an incredible A1 to be counterattacking automatically with. And then the second part of the skill, I can imagine 2 scenarios where it comes in handy. One is Arena, if you're up against another Helicath. And then the other one is in Hydra, if the Head of Mischief steals the shield and block damage buffs, Helicath's A1 can at least hit through that. And he can maybe get somebody out that's been swallowed or something like that if the block damage is up there. I personally think those are the 2 things they may have been thinking about when they, wrote his skills. Again, really well thought out. I don't think they left anything out on this champion. I'm in love with him. I think he's going to be as big as Brogni and, really amazing. Now, are you playing around with Helicath? Where are you using them? Are you using them in Hydra like I am? And, how did that go for you? What's your comp? How much damage are you doing? Let me know in the comments. And keep an eye out for my 1-minute champion spotlights. That's kind of the showcase of my channel. And I just go through champions really quickly so you can have a good understanding of both the champions you own and the champions you don't, the champions you might go up against, things like that. And I look forward to making more content for you. Zach got you back.